This week, Ukraine claims to have advanced over 2 kilometers along the southern front and to have shot down 16 drones. Kyiv officials claimed on Friday, July 14, that they pushed Ukraine about 2 kilometers from the southern front in the fight to return from Russia last week, Agence France Presse reported. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian Air Force said it shot down 16 Iranian-made UAVs launched by Russia overnight. Not fast enough. Ukraine admits that the military did not act fast enough to liberate the region to the east and south. Yermak said it didn't pass as fast as today, adding that the struggle was tough. "We'll let you know if we see a problem. Nobody will whitewash," the leader of Kyiv told reporters. Division. Ukraine is making progress on the southern front. Mykola Uzalovic, a senior representative of the National Guard, said at a press conference that the 15th Montenegrin Brigade and the regular army have been making constant attacks over the past year. It advanced 1,700 meters south and southeast of the southern city of Melitopol. Ukrainian troops continue to advance despite wet minefields and shelling. National Guard units continue to hold their positions in the port city of Berdyansk in Zaporizhzhia, Ursalovic said. Zone under constant enemy fire. A few days ago, the Ukrainian military said on July 10 that it had recaptured 14 square kilometers of land in the south and east of the country from the Russian army last week. Ukraine shoots down 16 drones in night attack. Russia used 17 Iranian-made Shahed 136/131 attack aircraft to attack Ukraine from the southeast. Due to military action. 0.16 Shahids destroyed. Ukrainian Air Force says why it is collaborating with Russia to destroy arms shipments and disrupt foreign arms supplies. The man, whose identity has not been checked, was said to have worked on behalf of Russian militants in eastern Ukraine before Moscow for a year. He began special military operations more than a decade ago. While the exact nature of the alleged attack was not disclosed, the alleged target was claimed to be the Rivne region of western Ukraine, which is linked by several major highways and railways for NATO member and Kyiv-backed Poland. The route is isolated in Ukraine, but most of the equipment can be found in the east of the country. Western military support is deemed necessary for Ukraine's defense against Russia. Ukraine shot down 11 Russian UAVs in a two-night attack on the Ukrainian city of Kyiv as NATO leaders were preparing to meet with President Volodymyr Zelensky in Vilnius. A total of 15 kamikaze drones participated in this attack. 11 of them were destroyed in areas under the responsibility of the Central and Eastern Air Force Command. The governor of the Cherkasy region in central Ukraine said there were still drone strikes in the city in Kyiv, but did not say how many drones were involved. All enemy targets in the airspace around Kyiv were captured and destroyed. Weather alert in Kyiv lasted 2 hours. On the first day of the NATO meeting on Tuesday, Ukraine said that Russian drones hit the food supply in the southern port in the Odessa region. The Ukrainian military said on Tuesday it had shot down 26 Russian drones in the latest attack. The Russian Ministry of Defense confirmed that there was an unsuccessful attack on the Kyiv government's facilities in the Moscow region, adding in a statement that all 3 drones were killed by electronic interference. No comment has yet been received from Ukraine, which generally denies the attack on Russian soil. Earlier, Ukrainian officials said that the country has the right to attack any target in response to the Russian attack, and the war began in February 2022. The dangerous attack on Russia was first aimed at the Kremlin itself on May 3, but Russian officials announced that the equipment had been hit before any damage could be done. The second time, on May 30, the Muscovites were thrown into battle despite the losses. At the time of the Kremlin offensive, Putin said Moscow's air defense system was working well, but added that it was clear what we need to do to fill the void in the system. It has been reported that other drones have entered Russia several times. Ukrainian drones have returned to the Russian capital since the UJ-22 crashed 100 kilometers (60 miles) from Moscow in February. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov confirmed Wednesday's drone strike, but said only the method of combating drones played a role. Meanwhile, the Russian-appointed governor of Crimea, Sergei Aksyonov, said on Wednesday that the train was briefly affected in Crimea. Aksyonov did not disclose the cause of the damage, but some Russian media reported that the train broke down at night due to an apparent act of terrorism. An hour later, officials said the service was restored. The railway passing through the Crimea is important for supporting the Russian army on Ukraine's southern and eastern front. Russia annexed Crimea from Ukraine in 2014 in a move considered illegal by most of the world. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that Ukraine wants to take back the peninsula in the struggle that has started in recent weeks. The Defense Ministry said Russia has made major efforts in recent weeks to build reinforced defensive lines along the Crimean route in response to the Ukrainian military's threat to use advanced weapons supplied by its Western allies. The ministry said in a tweet Wednesday that for the Kremlin, control of Crimea is the most important political issue. The report added that heavy fighting took place in the region of southern Ukraine, where Kiev forces were trying to defend Russia. Putin recently took charge of the conflict in Ukraine and claimed that Kiev forces were regrouping after suffering heavy losses. But he warned in an interview with Russian radio that their fighting abilities are not lost. They have talents and the enemy is considering where and how to use them. In 2019, Putin has more Pioneer attached to some Russian missiles. He said he would use a hypersonic glide vehicle and decided to dispatch the new Sarmat intercontinental ballistic missile, codenamed Satan by NATO allies, as soon as possible. He told military academy graduates that the Russian army would add more drones. Also Wednesday, European Union countries agreed on a new package of sanctions for Russia's war, including measures to prevent the three countries and companies from bypassing already existing sanctions. For example, they will ban the export of technological equipment that can be transferred to Russia. In addition, Ukraine's allies have pledged billions of dollars in non-military aid to rebuild war-torn infrastructure, fight corruption, and help stabilize the country's path to membership in the European Union. At a conference on Ukraine's recovery in London, experts and political leaders urged the private sector to invest in Tiger Oil and stimulate the economy.